Denmark said this Thursday that drone incursions overnight, which briefly closed 2 airports and affected military installations, were hybrid attacks aimed at spreading fear. Authorities couldn't yet identify who was behind it all. The incident, which is the second in 2 days in Denmark, is part of what some European officials see as a pattern of Russian disruption that's exposed the vulnerability of European airspace at a time of high tension between Moscow and NATO. Emerald Maxwell with this report.
It's the second time this week that unauthorized drone activity has disrupted traffic at Scandinavian airports. This one was spotted above Aalborg Airport in northern Denmark, which also serves as a military base. Others were also seen over 3 smaller Danish airports.
Yes, I think it's disturbing. I don't really know what to think. It's a lot to get used to.
While emphasizing that there was no danger to the public, authorities said the drone flights were not the work of an amateur.
We are not yet in a place where we know for sure who is behind it. But there must be no doubt that everything indicates that it is a professional actor when it comes to such a systematic operation at so many locations, almost simultaneously.
On Monday, Copenhagen and Oslo airports were paralyzed for hours after large drones flew over them. Investigations are still ongoing, but the Danish Prime Minister called it the most serious attack on Danish critical infrastructure to date. Europe is on edge after NATO members Poland, Romania and Estonia all accused Russia of violating their airspace with drones or fighter jets in recent days.
It is obvious this is part of Vladimir Putin's strategy, without us being able to say anything concrete. We are not at war, but we are also no longer at complete peace.
Speaking before Wednesday night's drone sightings, French President Emmanuel Macron told France 24 that NATO nations would have to react more strongly to Russian incursions. Moscow has denied responsibility for any of the incursions and described the incidents at Danish airports as staged, a pretext to escalate tensions.
Well, let's bring in Stefan Wolff, Professor of International Security at the University of Birmingham. Thanks for joining us, sir. In your opinion, looking at this with the plain facts, what is happening?
I think this is very much part of Russian tactics here. I mean, we have seen this for many years now. It probably began several years ago, just after the full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine. We have seen undersea cables being cut. We have seen drone incursions. We have seen fighter jets breaching NATO airspace. I think all of this needs to be seen in this broader context of deteriorating relations between Russia and the West. And as your correspondent there indicated, it's very much part of a Russian playbook to constantly test, probe for weaknesses, and create sort of this kind of general uncertainty that is potentially also infecting wider European publics.
And this kind of Russian interference is happening on many levels, isn't it? I mean, not just the idea of drones going into airspace, but of course, if you look at, say, what's happening in places like Moldova, we're seeing obviously a different kind of interference campaign there to try to sway the elections.
Absolutely. And I mean, in Moldova, we will see how effective this will have been when the elections happen on this coming Sunday. I think it's part of this sort of broader hybrid warfare campaign that Russia has now mounted for quite a number of years, going back to well before the full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, arguably even further back to when Russia illegally annexed Crimea in 2014. The main problem here is, of course, that it always seems to sort of find the West slightly unawares. I mean, an operation like the drones incursion that we have seen twice now over Denmark, this is not something that sort of you decide one morning and then you carry it out at lunchtime. And this requires a lot of careful preparation, and it is slightly disconcerting that there hasn't been any earlier indication that something like that might happen, and that Western European air defenses, for example, were much better prepared than that.
It leads to my next question. It's about the safety of our airports, because as you just pointed out, one would perhaps have imagined that this would have been seen somewhere on the radar, to coin a phrase.
Absolutely. If we just think back to what happened when Ukraine had this spectacular attack against the Russian strategic bomber fleet a couple of months ago. That was an operation that had been planned for a very, very long time, for all that we know from publicly available records. So that European intelligence was not able to sort of detect early signs of if it was a Russian operation or a Russian proxy actor doing it. I think this, again, sort of should send alarm bells ringing in European capitals, that the West generally needs to up its game and be more prepared for more frequent and potentially more severe attacks like that.
Professor Wolff, it was Volodymyr Zelensky at the UN 2 days ago who was talking about the nature of drones and how it will redefine war as we know it and change the possibility of striking anywhere, any place, any time, and perhaps getting under existing security devices such as the radar. Do you agree with him that this is something that really needs to be addressed by the international authorities, by the global bodies in some way, shape or form, to make sure it doesn't get out of control?
Absolutely. I think we have seen now for quite a number of years that drones, and more generally, not just airborne drones, but also seaborne drones, for example, are becoming much more important tools of modern warfare. And sort of where drones have kept up this amazing innovation, for now, at least, defenses against drones seem to be much weaker. So over the past week or so, European officials in particular have talked about building a drone wall on NATO's eastern flank, the direct borders with Russia. Now, that will take time. That will take technological innovation. And here again, I also think that there are quite significant opportunities for Europe to cooperate more with Ukraine, which has this now amazing set of data on how modern day drone warfare actually works. So I think from that perspective, there is quite a lot of hope that Europe will get its act together quickly, but it will require a lot of money and a lot better coordination than we currently have.
Professor Wolff, thank you very much for joining us here in France 24. We appreciate your time and your analysis. Stefan Wolff, Professor of International Security at the University of Birmingham. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Great to see you.